Okay, hello everybody.
Well,
Hope you can hear us. I hope you can see us as well. What are you doing?
I don't know. I was thinking I should move.
Well, just a second. There, you happy now?
I
Okay,
guess.
so hi Donna. Hi Irate Overload Teresa. So you changed it so we don't get the two Teresas mixed up. Judy's here. Hi Judy. Hi Teresa DeYoung. Jeannie. Hi Jeannie. Betty Lascelle. Hi Betty. Betty, I think you might be new. And Cara Dayhoff. I think you two are fairly new ones. Welcome. Laura Wildy's here. Hi, Stephen Walter. Hello, everyone. I'll be very interested to hear about your experience of dealing with a death estate. My uncle passed away this week, so I'll be settling the estate as well. Oh, lots to tell you there, Laura. Yeah, and Irene says, okay, well, welcome, everybody. Hi, Fidel. You made it today. Wow. I'm impressed. Christina, hello. From Iostoft, the UK. Okay, great.
Laura, half an inch of snow and, well, we don't have any yet.
And we don't want any, thank you.
Still 3 degrees here.
Yeah, Glenna's here. Hi, Glenna, from St. Louis, Missouri. My first live chat. Well, welcome, Glenna. I'm glad you could make it. And everybody else, too. I think I've said hello to everybody so far. We'll get started in just a second or two. And yes, Laura mentioned about the estate stuff. Yes, we are going to talk about that because I'm getting quite an education here as well. Hi, Janice.
It's been a while since it's been 2009 was the last one I did. And I'd forgotten a lot of things.
Yeah, and they've also changed a lot of things, I think, as well. One thing they didn't change, or at least in making it lower, is the cost. But we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Hi, Cheryl. Oh, Carr says she watches but doesn't always comment. Well, I'm glad you're on here today. Hi, Angel.
Hi, Angel. Cheryl, everybody.
And everybody. Okay, well, other people may be joining us as we get going here, but let's get going. So you saw by the title, I said, death is not the ending for the living. Oh, Fidel, 20 degrees and sunny in here. Yeah, okay.
It's 3 degrees Celsius, which is, 37 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah. Hi, Anita. Oh, you made it today, Anita. I saw your message, but I knew you were coming on, so I thought I'd wait. So you're busy, it sounds like, doing more renovation. Hi, Patsy. So, what's been going on this week? Well, of course, I'm assuming that everybody on here knows that my mother passed away just over a week ago. And we talked about that last week. Now there's the aftermath. You know, that is not the end of things. So, where do I start? Well, I was kind of hoping that I would have my mother's urn and everything last week. Actually, I guess it was premature to even think they could be that fast, but Wednesday of this past week, I had what they call the aftercare session, which basically there's some forms you sign that have to go to our Canadian government when someone passes, for CPP, and which is the Canadian Protection Plan, and
Canadian
pension plan. Yeah, well, I'm mixing it up with that other one that that Canadian Protection Plan, which is
an insurance company.
Yeah, which they always say they purposely called themselves that to get people confused with the Canadian government one. Anyways, that's the Canadian Pension Plan, and OAS, which is the Old Age Security, both of which my mother was receiving. So, of course, those have to be stopped. But the funeral home does look after all of the paperwork for that, which is kind of good. Then I had to contact Omar's. Omar's is the pension she gets, a survivor benefit pension. It was my father's pension. And they just sent me the paperwork for that, which was really simple. I just have to send them a death certificate, and I had a little form to fill out, which basically was my name, address, and telephone number, and that was pretty much it. Now, I did phone them before I got that form, and they had other information there, too. So, but anyways,
I think that's all I had to do with my mom's stuff, too.
Now, I may owe them some money. I don't know if there's...
Probably, maybe not.
I don't know. It depends on... Well, they pay at the first of the month.
Yeah, I know, but a lot of times the pension plans, like I read in my pension plan, that it said basically that you know it you don't have to pay any back if you die during that month. So.
No, okay. Well, that would be okay. I'd rather not have to pay anything back, but if I do, I do. And then there is something I'm going to have to ask the bank about this. That's another thing I'll come to. GST and provincial payment credits that my mother was receiving. I don't know if when they canceled the CPP and the OAS, whether those get automatically canceled or not. No one mentioned them, but there was a form. They give you a little kit. I got a really nice, well, I'll have to show it to you. I mean, what your funeral dollars pay for, I got this really lovely portfolio. And in this portfolio, it's zippered, and it has all these little pre-made index cards, or actually
Hi, Maggie.
files.
Welcome.
For that. Hi, Maggie. Hi, Dana. And they just have everything all organized for you in there so you can keep your stuff together. And actually, it's not bad because I've got it all organized.
Geez,
Nice.
I never got one of those, and that's the same company that I.
Yeah, well, I guess that's something new that they're giving. They should be for what it costs.
Of course, I didn't pay what you're paying, so.
Yeah. But anyways, so there wasn't any. They have a website. These funeral homes are very, very high tech these days. There's a link you go to, and it has forms you can fill out, and it's got pre-written letters that have to go to certain things. And when you first go into this site, you fill in your basic information and the information about the deceased, and then it populates these letters, which you can call up in Word as a Word document, and then you can print them out. And they're already written out for you. You just have to fill in a little extra information here and there on them. They're kind of slick. But there is one for GST, and GST is goods and service tax here in Canada, and these other provincial payment things. So I don't know.
I don't know, because when they cancel your old age security and your CPP, that's part of your CRA account.
Yeah.
Which is what in the US you would call your IRS account. So
I don't know, but I may ask them at the bank. So anyways, we did all of that, and then the guy is wrapping up the meeting, one of the funeral directors. I mean, these things are like they are a corporation. I've had to deal with 3 different people. There was one person that looked after the urn and all of that, and that was a separate payment for the cremation and all that kind of stuff, because that's what they call their cemetery side. And then the general arrangements for everything, like if you're going to have visitations, which we weren't, and all that kind of stuff, that's another part. And then I had a third person in this after care visit session thing that they had. So as he's finishing up with us, I said, so am I going to get my mother's remains? Oh, he says. So off he goes. He says, I'll be right back. And he came back and says, yeah, they're not ready yet. We'll call you when they're ready. That was last Wednesday. This is Sunday. I mean, what? They're enjoying the barbecue? I don't know. By the way, if you get uptight because I'm going to make some funeral type jokes, sorry, because I'm going to make them anyways. It's a coping mechanism.
is your mic on okay?
Yeah.
I know
That's not the one. Jeez, why do you do this all the time?
Okay.
Do you know how to run OBS?
I just thought I'd ask anyway, because it seems like it's
Well, I think somebody would have told me if they couldn't hear us.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah, right? Okay, fine. Sorry for the interruption. Walter's just being efficient. Right. Okay. So, and he throws me right off my train
Okay,
of
you
thought.
were trying to figure out whether you're going to get a remains.
Oh, yeah, so I don't know when I'm going to get her remains. Now, it's not like she's going anywhere, but that's not really true. She is going somewhere. I think I mentioned last time that we have a family plot in a small town about an hour and a half east of us. It's bought by my great-grandfather back. I'm not sure if he bought it in the 1930s or something like that, 1940s. So it's been there about 80 years. Anyways, and that's where everybody in my family's pretty much planted. There were 2 holes left. My father always told me, he says, there's 2 spots left, one for him and one for my mother. Well, 7 years ago when my dad passed away, I called them up, the cemetery. It's a private cemetery in this small town, and it's run by a board of volunteers. And I wasn't too impressed with whoever I was talking to. They sounded like they didn't know what they were doing. And maybe they were new to the position. I have no idea. But I got everything arranged, and my sister and her husband and Walter and I, and my mother at the time, we went to the cemetery, and they already had dug the spot for my dad, and I dropped his urn in, and that was the end of that.
Well, and you gave some money to that attends.
And I don't know whose idea that was.
Well, you asked, you phoned up Mount Lawn, the place that we went to for the funeral, and you said, is it normal for you to give like an honorarium or something like that to the guy
that does
thing? So you put in some money into an envelope.
I only put in $20.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lot and then I got presented with a bill saying that we owed $400 and some odd for that. Well, that's fine, except that it was my understanding from my father that when my great-grandfather purchased this plot, he purchased everything. He paid, like there shouldn't have been any extra charges. It was all paid for at that time. So I emailed them back or called them. I think I called them back. Yeah, they don't have an email. I called them. I got a voicemail message, and I said, who I was and what I was calling about. And I just wanted to verify that, yes, indeed, given what my father had told me, that I still owed them $400 and some bucks. Never got an answer back. Nothing. So I left it. I figured, okay, so they figured out, I guess we don't. That was 7 years ago. So I'm thinking, I'm dreading calling this place because I'm thinking, am I going to get the same kind of person who doesn't really know what they're talking about? Well, surprise, surprise, she's the chairman of this board. She knew exactly everything. She had it all down. She was very, very friendly. And it turns out she knew who my father and my mother were because she went to high school with both of them. She also knew my grandmother, my father's mother. She knew my uncle, who had passed away about 10 years, 15 years ago, before my father, of course, and everything. And she's even related to my family by way of her husband. She has the same last name as my great-grandmother has, too. So I thought, well, this is nice. So we had a nice little chat and everything. And she said, yep. She said, well, I told her I don't have the urn yet. She says, okay, the cemetery will be closed at the end of this month of November because it's too cold and everything like that. So, in other words, get her planted before then, or you're going to have to wait till spring. And she said, so as soon as you get the urn, give me a call and we'll set up a day and a time for you to come down. And she says, I'll be there. Now, she says there is a charge. And it's $475 or something for, I guess, opening up the hole and closing up the hole. And that. And I said, okay. And I told her this story about what had happened 7 years ago. And she said, she said, it's our policy that you can't pay for those kind of services in advance when they buy a plot. So she says, it's kind of weird. And she says, but I've been on the board, she says, for 4 years. And this is what always has been. I said, well, that's fine. I said, I don't care. I just want to make sure, about this. And asked her method of payment. Well, places are still a little primitive in the sticks, okay? You can't do it you can only pay it with cash or with a check. They don't have debit. You can't do a credit card, and you can't do e-transfer. Which, in my way of thinking, that's pretty primitive. I haven't written a check in years. Checks have just gone by the way of the dodo here in Canada.
Yeah, I haven't written a check in a long time either. And every time, one of the few times I have to write a check, I have to dig through my stuff to see where my checks are because I haven't written one in so long.
No, so anyways, yeah, well, that was the thing. I haven't written one so long. I had to take a look at find my checkbook, and I found it. But there was one little problem. the address of the bank branch is one from 20. We stopped dealing with that bank and they moved actually over. Well, we stopped
No,
dealing.
you moved your account, remember?
Yeah,
You moved your account to be closer.
that's
to
right.
this.
To be closer. So it's not been,
Yeah.
well, it's been quite a few years though. It's
Yeah.
been well over 10. Anyways, so I called up my branch of my bank and I said to him, okay, here's my situation. I need to write a check soon. And I have some checks, but they have this address from another branch. And she says, as long as it's got your account number on it, she says, that doesn't matter. And I said, okay, great, which I suspected because everything's now, all tied together, the banking systems here. So, you might physically walk into a branch, but it doesn't matter which branch you go into as long as you've got your card kind of a thing and your account number is the same. So they just goes through the computer system. But I want to make sure because you don't want the check to go bouncy, not because of that. So anyways, I'm waiting for the earn. And we got that settled in. Now I see here there's some comments. Teresa says, isn't the funeral already aftercare? Apparently not. Well, we're not having a funeral per se. So that's why it was pretty quick. We made the arrangements a week ago yesterday, my sister and we said no visitation, no service. Mainly because of COVID. And also, anybody that knows my mother is dead. My parents hung out with a much older crowd than themselves, like 10 to 12 years older than themselves. And the ones that are left couldn't make a visitation because of physical problems. Plus, I don't want to put anybody in jeopardy, The funeral home, supposedly, you have to be double vaxxed, you have to wear a mask, and you have to book ahead. If you're going to have a service, and you want to be at it, you have to call the funeral home, and they reserve you a spot. Well, we weren't having any of that, of course. So, I guess they felt they could do the aftercare thing really quick, and they did. So now I'm just waiting for the call to tell me I can pick up mom from all this. And then I can get the other part done. Now, then I had a phone. All these things you have to do, okay? And if you've never done any of this stuff before, I'm hoping you'll learn something from this, because I certainly am. And even though I have been sort of through it before, not to the extent I'm going through it this time. So I had to phone the monument people, which are in another town, even further east than the town where my mother's cemetery is, because they've got to engrave the headstone. Now, that isn't so imperative because her name is already on it and her birth year is already on it. When Dad passed away 7 years ago, I had all that stuff put on the stone at the time, and I had the footstones put in as well with their names on it, and all that needs to go on it is this year onto it. So it's fairly simple. I was telling this person at the cemetery about that, and she says, oh, you better put in the order now. She says, I don't think they're doing it right now because the weather's getting too cold and their equipment doesn't work. But, it's best to book it now. So I did phone them up, and yeah, they can't do it till the spring, but not a problem. They had it all worked out. They looked at my last record of my dad's. They know exactly where everything is and what's got to be on there. So, and I don't think I have to pay for it until next spring. It's about 200 and some odd bucks. These are the lower end of the spectrum. The funeral costs were just a little over $6,000, which is cheap. It would have been closer to $10,000 if we'd had visitations and a service and the reception and all that. Because my dad's funeral, we did have all of that, and it was just slightly over $10,000 for it. But there's the other finances. So I called the lawyer about doing the estate, the will, all right? So I knew there would be a charge for this, and lawyers aren't cheap. But you see, I was going through the lawyer that we have, but he is semi-retired, and he has sold his practice or gone into partnership with his practice with another lawyer. So they have a new name and all this kind of stuff. So I called them up and said, okay, my mother has passed away. what do I do now? What has to go on? Probate, where they take it to court. And of course, you've got, I'm the executor of the will. So there's certain documents I have to present to them, like a death certificate and, assets and things like that. Well, my mother didn't really have any assets. We had sold the house way back when my father passed away. We had just finished liquidating her stocks that I had taken out for her. She didn't have a lot, but I'd taken about $25,000 of her money from the house sale and invested them in some stocks that she would get dividends from. So Walter recommended, he's my stock advisor, my investment counselor. He recommended that a couple of weeks before Mom actually passed, that maybe we should liquidate that and sell off the stock and put that money into her savings account in order to avoid a lot of problems. Because what you said, it takes.
Well, the bank has to liquidate the accounts, and I don't know how long it would take them to sell the stocks once to do it for you. So I thought, well, stocks go up and down, and you never know if you hit a spot where they go down all of a sudden, right? And you
While we're waiting,
and you can't get them sold, right?
Yeah.
So I thought, well, you're better safer to sell them right now. That way, you know what you're getting and everything else.
Yeah. So we did, and that was a good thing because, like I said, 2 weeks after we sold them, she passed away. So, but that money's all sitting in her savings account. She also has a checking account. The checking account I have power of attorney, so I looked after all her finances. The checking account was meant for paying things like her residence, her phone, her TV, which was quite nice, is all wrapped up into her residence fees as well. So I don't have to worry about cutting anything off or stopping it because that's all done by the nursing home.
And you're supposed to be getting a check from the nursing home.
Yeah, the nursing home's supposed to be sending me a check for, because she died 5 days into the month. So they owe me for the rest of the month. Plus she had a trust account there that I put money in for incidentals and things, and they're giving me that back too. And that's money that I'll use because I'll need that money to pay for the engraving on the headstone, and possibly if I owe anything to the pensions or whatever, it can come out of that amount of money. I'm assuming, well, they can't put it in the bank account. No, they're writing a check, so I'm assuming they're writing the check to me. Mm-hmm. My mother would have a hard time signing it. But anyways, we'll see. So when I called up the lawyer and everything, and that first thing comes out of the lawyer's mouth pretty much was, okay, we'll need a death certificate, and okay, there is a $3,000 administration fee for doing the probate. And they want that money now.
Now, mind you, I looked up my records when my mom passed away in 2009, and it was a $1,700 administration fee.
Well, it's doubled.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Like I said, okay, that's fine. Now, what they can do, though, I have an appointment with my mother's bank on Wednesday where I take in death. I've made a lot of phone calls. I have a lot of things I have to take to people. I'll spare you the paperwork. But I have to basically take in this paperwork to declare that she's dead. Here's a copy of her will, so they know that I'm the executor. And then they basically, I guess, write the rights over to the bank accounts to my lawyers, who, after probate is done and everything like that, will release it to me so I can do the distribution of the funds to where they need to go in that.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if it actually gets written over to lawyers, because if I remember right, I think basically they give you a probated will, right? Mm-hmm. You take it to the bank, and then it releases it to the executor.
Oh, okay.
Right? So what happens is then, as the executor, you have the power to do whatever you want with the banks.
But I'm supposed to have a meeting with the lawyer this week to get these other papers that I need, which are the probate papers and stuff. Probate has to go to the court.
Yeah, I know. You have to wait.
Yeah,
you have to wait for the papers to be probated. But you can get the ball rolling with the bank and stuff like that.
Well, and I've got the ball rolling with the lawyer as well, because I said to the lawyer, okay, your fee, this $3,000. I said, can you take that from the estate? Because I really don't want to drop $3,000, right now. I can, but I don't want to. And she said, yeah, she says, when you go to the bank, she says, I will give you a letter, she says, that tells the bank to write a draft for that amount, and they'll give that to you, and then you bring it into us. And I said, okay, that's good. Want to know that. I'm anticipating that things aren't going to go smoothly at the bank because I don't like this particular bank. I've had bad experiences with them before, and the only reason I deal with this bank, not for my own accounts, it was just for my mother's, because she had always dealt with this banking company.
I dealt with the same bank when my mom passed away, and I didn't have too many problems.
I dealt with a dipstick on there when we were setting up the power of attorney and the whole bit with it. She was screwing around, and she didn't know what she was doing at all. So, anyways, of course, you didn't have any problem. You don't have my last name. My last name means if there's going to be a problem or someone's going to screw up on you, or you're going to buy a lemon, it goes without saying. It will happen to my family. So anyways, so that's coming up this week. So I guess I took a look at what the probate is, which is basically tax on the amount of her assets. And so that's going to work out to almost $4,000 by my estimation on the estate. So $3,000 for the lawyer. I already had to give them a $500 deposit. But $3,000 for the lawyer, $4,000 for probate, and then there's GST on stuff, or HST on stuff, which are taxes, government taxes, on top of all of that, on the services and things. Then there's a court fee. I don't know how much that is. I am pretty much anticipating this to get this whole thing, done. It's going to range anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 on the estate. So, yeah, when she first opened her mouth and said $3,000 right off the bat, I gasped. I mean, I was thinking like
10 cents?
No, I was thinking, well, this is ridiculous, and you'll laugh at me. But I'm thinking, it's probably about $500 for a young. No. So these bloody lawyers, like for what? All this is a paper shuffle. Wow. Yeah, they've got a high education. Yeah, so do I. I didn't get paid $3,000 every time I wrote a report card. Hello. Could you hear that with parents as a teacher? Yeah, I can tell you how your son or daughter's doing. I'll write up their report card. That's $3,000. That's an administration fee. Yeah, no sense. No wonder people want to become lawyers. So when I get all this stuff done and my mother is safely planted in the hole, then like Walter goes, well, what's the big rush? So like if you don't get her in there in the ground by like the end of November, well, in the spring, and I go, she is not home decor. I do not want my mother's urn sitting on my mantelpiece. I've seen the movies. Somebody always knocks the urn over.
It won't. But it's got stuff contained in it, so it won't do that.
I don't want her in my living room.
Okay, fine.
So, anyways, yeah. Now, the lawyer that I have is not actually a lawyer. She's a law clerk, according to her card. And I guess I am actually meeting with a lawyer. I think it's...
Well, actually, it is a lawyer that's looking after it.
Yeah.
But she does all the paperwork.
She does the paperwork.
Law clerk does all the paperwork.
Yeah.
The lawyer just does a little signature.
Yeah. So Judy says I never went to a lawyer. I went to my accountant. Well, I don't have an accountant. But, I mean, her books are very easy. She has 2 bank accounts. There's X amount of dollars in one account. There's X amount of dollars in the other account. She doesn't have any special beneficiary requirements or allegations or anything like that. Not allegations. That's the word I'm looking for. Well, whatever. It's all very straightforward. It's very easy. And if she'd only had $2 in her bank accounts, we wouldn't even have to go through probate. But apparently, no. Then, of course, we do have final income tax to do. When I say we, I mean Walter. And that could carry over for 2 tax years. Because according to the funeral guy at the aftercare thing, we have something in Canada called the death benefit. They give you up to $2,500 to apply towards funeral costs, bless their heart. That get you nothing. And my mother, according to this guy, my mother's going to get, well, we're going to get a check, but not till January for $2,500. So that puts us into the next year's tax year. So we'll have to do final income tax for this year, and then we have to do it again the following year because of this stupid check coming in 2022. So it just goes on and on and on. So I guess they're right. The only thing that's for sure in the world is death and taxes. And if natural causes don't kill you, the taxes will. So, yeah. So that's what we're doing with it all. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun not with it. But I'll say one thing for this law clerk thing. When I first met her, she kind of brushed me off, I felt. Like I wasn't getting all the answers, but I wasn't sure what questions I needed to ask. So after I saw her the once and I knew there were some things that she was doing, I wrote her an email. And I didn't know how quick I get an answer. I got an answer back. And I put the email, I had like 4 questions and I had them subdivided and it was all there. And she wrote me right back and she put her answers right next to my questions in red so I could see them. And they were very clear. So I did appreciate that. She cleared up a lot of mystery for me with that. And, oh yeah, and I had to fill out another form to renounce my sister as co-executor. Because if you have a co-executor, anything that needs to be signed, we both have to be there. We both have to sign. And my sister doesn't live here where we live. She doesn't live that far away, but she lives in another town over or so.
So it's 20 minutes away.
And she didn't want to be in a co-executor in the first place, but for some reason, the lawyer that we had when we updated my mother's will back when my father passed away, he recommended it. And so my mother went, okay, fine. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, fine. And whatnot. But my sister didn't want it, so I got the form. She signed it. She's no longer an executor. It's just me. Which will make life a little easier. So that's done. I've informed my brother about all of these things, what's going on, and I get the same answer I always get from my brother. Okay, thanks. All right, Craig. I'm just wondering when it finally comes to, dividing up the estate amongst each of us.
Yeah, and he gets a check. He'll say, okay, thanks.
Yeah. I have, okay, this is kind of nasty of me, but I purposely have not told my brother how much he might expect after all of this is done, how much he might get. My sister knows. I've told her, but I haven't told him. I'm just being nasty. I'm just waiting to see if he ever asks me about it. I mean, he'll eventually find out, and I'll have records of everything, so everything's above board. I mean, I'm not cheating anybody out of anything. I wouldn't. But, you've got to give me a little pleasure out of the sheer hell that I've been going through for 10 years. So what are everybody saying here? Hope it all goes well. Anita says, when he says, agree with you, Stephen. I never went to a lawyer, went to my accountant. My dad sits in a wooden urn that is screwed together next to the chair that he used to sit in the living room next to my mom, and she's happy. Okay, Cindy, that's interesting. I find it a little morbid, but, that's just me. Someone comes into your house, sits in the chair, looks over, oh, what's this? I've seen too many comedies about that. She's not home decor. I love it. Okay, well, each his own. If it makes you happy, then that's fine. What makes me happy is knowing my mother is 6 feet under. Put her in a closet until spring. Well, you want to know something funny? When I got my father's urn, and it was about a week or so before we could get to the cemetery and do everything. He sat in a liquor box on top of my dining room table. Well, my father did like his wine, so I figured it was appropriate, but there he was. He'd come out in the morning and go, morning, Dad. Have a drink. My daughter's a paralegal, Billy says. She does all the research and prep for everything. Yeah, it's times like this when you really wish you had a lawyer in the family. I wonder if, let's say my sister had been a lawyer or something. I wonder if that would be a conflict of interest.
No, I don't think so. She would just do all the paperwork.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Or either that or she'd have a lawyer friend to help her out.
You see, my nephew was talking when he first went to university that he wanted to become a lawyer. That would have been handy, but now he's going to be an electrician, so a little different. Yeah, death and taxes, right, Anita? And paying too much at the fabric store for quilting material that you have to have. Okay, I'm missing something.
Well, I think it's sort of like expenses. I mean, there's always maybe a cheaper way to do it, but
well, we weren't cheaping out, but at the same time, we were being practical about it, because we weren't having a visitation. So, and I don't like visitations. I hate going to a funeral with an open casket. I like, and it seems to be the trend these days, memorial services.
Actually, it was funny because I think I said this before. I don't know what it was. When my dad passed away, we just wanted a private family service, and we had a closed casket. We didn't have any viewing or anything. And at the time, everybody I worked with and other people I knew were all freaking out because they said, well, where are we going to go if there's no visitation? And I said, well, you don't have to come.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, people that I worked with knew me, but they didn't really know my dad. And I always felt, for me, I felt like people that go to the funeral should really know the person that was laying in the casket, right? So at that time, it was 1993, everybody thought it was really weird to do that. But I've noticed over and over the years, over the past years, even before COVID, that more and more people were having private family services or just having it go to a cremation or something like that and having a small service afterwards, or memorial service.
Or celebration of life is now what they're calling it and everything. And, I kind of like that idea better because funerals can be really quite depressing. And the thing is, I used to say, sit me up in a corner, put a drink in my hand and play disco music and everybody gets to dance. Kind of a deal. But I think the last memory of a person's life should not be the end of their life. It's why I told them right off the bat, I am not going to go and identify my mother's body. And there is no law here in Ontario, I don't know if there's a law anywhere in Canada, that says you have to identify the body of someone who has passed away, where it's not being, suspicious death or something and cops are involved. And the funeral people can do the identification. And you provide them with a picture. And I was all prepared for that. And when my sister and I went in last week to make the arrangements and everything, that was the first thing that came out of the guy's mouth. And I said, nope, I am not identifying her body. That is not how I want to remember my mother. You can do it. Can you not? He hesitated for only a second. Because you see, that's an additional that's just all, I don't know if it's an additional charge, but whatever. And I thought he's going to give me the whole line about closure. He didn't. He didn't at all. If it had been 7 years ago, I would have got that because that's exactly what I got from the guy I dealt with 7 years ago. And I said, because Walter had warned me beforehand that they would tell
because I got the same spiel in 2009 with my mother when she passed away, about closure and all this other stuff. And at the time, my sister was in Florida on vacation, and she asked me if she needed to come back. And I said, no, I can do everything. But I went in there, and they were going, well, won't your sister need closure? Won't your niece and nephew need closure and all this other stuff? And I said, no, I don't think so. I think that'll be okay. And I talked to my sister about it, and she said, no, I don't need to see her. It's not like I'm lying that she's dead.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really major pressure, but it was a little bit of pressure. They were trying to get you to have like a viewing and all this other stuff because that's extra money for them. I'm sorry, but that funeral home's a business. That is extra money for them.
Yeah, it is. So I said to the guy, no, don't want it. And he says, well, we would need a picture. I pulled it out of my portfolio. Here you go. Here's a picture of her that was taken, about 6 months ago. And on the her side is the picture I want in her obituary. And I wrote her obituary, and they posted that. And you said, okay, fine, great. All right. So I have to say one thing. This time, this experience, this guy was not high pressure at all.
Now, mind you, you've got them on the tail where there's still COVID and everything, and the whole funeral business has had to rethink what they were doing.
Well, I don't care what the reason was. I was just thankful I didn't have to talk to them like a used car salesman with it all. So, anyways, yeah. So this thing about, what these funerals and the whole bit, we may have a celebration of life at some point for my mother. There's only my family. And I don't have a big family that's here. We also didn't have a visitation and all that stuff because then my brother didn't have to feel obligated to try and get a flight all the way from BC to out here.
And not only that, there aren't that many people left that know your mother.
That's what I said.
And you don't really feel like you need to have to go through that.
No, I don't. I have closure. I knew that the end was coming. We said our goodbyes to my mother a few weeks ago and whatnot. And I had a FaceTime with my mother 2 days before she passed away. And that's when I think I told you at that time she had seemed to have rallied a little bit, which I knew, okay, this is not good. Because I have read and heard many, many times that often that happens. People rally at the end and then, you suddenly see them and you think, wow, what an improvement. And then that's it, game over. So anyways, I was prepared for it. And yes, I do feel to a certain extent that a great weight's been lifted off my shoulders. And I think most people can identify with that. That isn't being crass or being insensitive. It's been a burden. It's been a big burden with it all. What?
No, Andy says if you want to irk your brother, have a funeral.
Yeah. Well, he didn't show up to my father's, so why would he show up to my mother's? Yeah. That's a story for another day. So, yeah, and I'm just thinking off the top of my head right now, if we are to have a celebration of life, I'm thinking what might be appropriate is have it next summer on her birthday.
Yeah.
And kind of a thing, then trying to do it. Now we're moving into winter. If anybody want to come, like my uncle is 79 years old, my mother's brother. They live in a place another hour and a half east of us. He and his wife, my aunt, they're not spring chickens. And for them to travel in the wintertime, especially, and they live up in the snowbelt area, and yeah, not good.
I always hated having to go to a funeral and somebody had an open casket and you go to view the body. And I've never really liked that because a lot of the people that I knew in life and that passed away, the made-up body never really looked like the person that I knew. And I never liked it as being one of my lasting memories of that person.
And that's the lasting memories I have of my grandparents, because it was a traditional at the time they passed away. They passed away many years ago. And, I was a young adult. I was like about 21 or something like that. But, those are the last images I have. And that's not the image I want to have of my father, and it's not the image I want to have of my mother. So, anyways, that's where we stand right now with all this stuff, and it'll take some time. It's going to take a good year when it comes to the money. But, like I said, there's not a lot of it. It's okay. It's not to be scoffed at, but it's hardly going to make me,
a multimillionaire.
Yeah, not even anywhere close. But anyways, it's really not about the money. It's about getting this thing all done.
Yeah, you had the money with her because you didn't know how long she would live for, and you wanted to make sure there was enough available to pay for her expenses all her life.
The accountant in me already did a projection on how much money she would need to sustain her for length of her life. I always said my mother would live to be 100 and probably outlive me. Well, wrong.
Well, she could have. She had that potential because she had
Yes.
her roots. Her mother lived well into her 90s.
Yep.
And
her grandparents lived to be over 100.
But it's basically the depression and everything. And I
Yep.
have to think that COVID has contributed to it as well.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, because she was somewhat isolated for the last year
Yeah.
or so.
So anyways, there are people saying here, Billy says, we just had a celebration of life for my brother, the video of his life from infancy to death. The whole family loved it. Yeah, that's what I would probably do with that as well, you know. Anita says, the first funeral I was at was my mother's when I was 2.5 years old. I had dreams of that for years growing up. I'm not a fan of young children being at funerals. No, I mean, I remember when my grandmother passed away in 1979. My sister was 14, 13, 14, going on 14, I think. She had never been to a funeral before. And my sister was in absolute tears. And she did not want to go near that casket, but my parents made her. And, you know, like,
I've been to funerals before where they had an open casket and I just refused to go and look at the person because I just felt uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the last time I saw my mom, I actually watched her pass away. And I saw her in her natural state and I have that vision of her passing away. But I mean, that didn't really creep me out as much as seeing somebody in a casket.
Yeah.
Because I actually saw her in her real state, you know, like not made up or anything like that. So
yeah, so that's the thing. I don't like that. Plus, people who would be PO'd at you because you didn't have a visitation, were they the people that actually had gone to see your deceased in life on a basis? Like, the people that might show up to a visitation for my mother would be people that we know. They would be friends of ours, and they're coming to it not because many of them would never have met my mother.
yeah,
They're coming because they feel that it's support for, you know, people they know in the family. I don't need your support. Thank you for thinking about it, but it's an inconvenience for you. Because, you know, people probably are going, oh, shit, I got to go to this thing. I've said that with things. And then what do? What you get there? You don't know what to say. You go through the reception line. Sorry for your loss and all that stuff. Well, yeah, okay, I get it. A card would have been nice. Or send me an email. I don't know if you want to express it. I don't need you to be here, really. What can you do? It happens. There's nothing any of us can do, you know? So, yeah, didn't want to go through that either.
Yeah, fine.
Are you directing again?
No, I'm not directing.
My show.
Go ahead.
Anyways, yeah, and then when you do that, you throw me right off topic, and I had a point I was trying to make, and I don't know what it is now. And you do that on purpose. You're an asshole.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So, well, yeah. So that's what's been going on. Ooh, Cindy. My aunt used to make me give them a kiss. Never got over that. Ooh, no. I've heard of that. I wish we could have had a funeral for my sister in February, but she didn't want one, and well, COVID, but we had a celebration of life in August. That was healing. Yeah, and also, you know, funerals happen very quickly, usually. And you're so tied up, if you're the immediate family, with all the arrangements and everything like that, that when the funeral happens, it goes by like a whirlwind. And it's just like out of your mind. And you really don't have time to necessarily absorb everything that's happened. I think if you have a celebration of life down the road, a few months later or whatever, I think then you've done your grieving, you've done you've made all the arrangements, you've got that all the way. Now you can truly celebrate a life. rather than dwell on the sadness of it. And I think that's more healthier. I really do. And if you want to call that a form of closure, then I think that's a better form of closure, in my opinion. To this day, I can't stand hearing the song Amazing Grace. It brings all that back, and the song is the saddest melody I've ever heard. Never thought about that, but you're right. The funeral music.
Yeah, I just want them to play. I just want to dance.
Yeah. I just want to effing dance. Yeah. With it all. I did take my young son for a visitation when he was only 4. His best buddy from church drowned. I explained it was just a chance to tell his family he missed him, and his family thanked him. That would be hard for a kid to see, another kid, his own age, and that would be difficult. I remember when my brother's best friend passed away. He had a rare form of cancer, and he was only in his, how old was Ken? His early 30s when that happened.
Was it his 30s or was
it late 20s?
Late 20s.
He was young. He had just gotten married and everything. Didn't have any children yet. And that was an open casket and the whole bit. And that had been rough on my brother, for one thing. It was rough on a lot of people because, he was too young, as they say. My dad didn't want any bells and whistles when he died. And no bells and whistles. Okay. Bells and whistles is what I meant. Okay. Yep. And Anita says, yep, life goes on. Closure and grief processes are two different things. Yeah, that is a very healthy way of thinking of it. Okay. I just want the egg salad sandwiches. Yeah. Yeah, that was expensive for my dad's. We had the reception at the funeral home. Food was good, but feeding the piggies at the trough, because I swear people come to a funeral just so they get the eats afterwards. But anyway, so that's enough about all that stuff. So let's move on. What are you working on?
I'll still do my shirt, right?
You'll notice we are not wearing any of Walter's shirts because they're short sleeve and it's getting cold. It's November.
Yeah. So I'm kind of waiting to get the shirt finished so that to see if it fits okay. And if not, I have an idea how to tweak the other model of shirt to get it to fit. And I might do a Muslim of it before I do some more shirts, and then do some. I have some fabric. I want to do some more long sleeve shirts.
Yes, I need some long sleeve shirts. Okay, I'm just looking at the comments. I've lost the thread here. But anyways, so that's all you've been working on.
Yeah.
Well,
Judy, what's Judy?
At Judy. So Judy must have said something. I don't know what. Oh. I just want the egg salad sandwiches. It's a standing joke among seniors. Oh, actually, here's something funny. The church that we used to belong to in this town, and every time that they had, like, if there was a funeral from somebody in the church, then they'd often have the reception in the church hall, right? And the ladies of the church would make sandwiches and all that kind of stuff. Well, the minister's wife was so damn cheap that when they were cleaning up all of the stuff after the reception, she had a Ziploc, or had a little plastic container, and she would load up on all the leftovers, on all the sandwiches and the little, cakes and things that the ladies had made and whatnot, and take them all home. That used to become a running joke in our church about, there's the Reverend's wife. I guess she's loading up for a week. She won't have to cook for a week. The whole bit. Oh, Marilyn, I never freeze. I'm always just hot. I'm very hot.
I freeze. I'm always cold.
But anyway, so that's what you've been working on.
Yeah.
Well, I've been working on several projects, as I always am. So I had my Lone Star class that I'm taking last week. Well, I made a couple of errors. Did you know? Actually, I had heard this, and I should have checked it, but I was an idiot. Thus, I call myself the idiot quilter. We're doing the blades for the Lone Star using jelly rolls, 2.5-inch strips. So you have to sew a whole bunch of these strips together to make a strip set, and then you cut them at a 45-degree angle, and you get these diamonds and whatnot, all this. Well, I'm putting these strips together to form the blades in the Lone Star, and one of my strips is way out when you had to match it up, and it's very difficult to match them up when you cut them at 45-degree angle, and you have to find the right intersection point so that they line up properly. It's not easy. And mine aren't lining up in this one particular strip set, one of the rows. And I'm looking at it, and I'm going, I can't even fudge it, because you've got these things cut on a bias. Now, so there's a certain amount of stretch you can play with. No, way out. Turns out actually 2 of the strips were way out. So the instructor comes over. She's trying to figure it out. And then she gets out her ruler. Just one of the little pieces in this long strip is not 2.5 inches. It's 2 3/8 inches. Now you say, 1/8 of an inch, would that make a difference? Yes, it does, because it gets compounded. So she says, okay, what you could do is take those strips apart, take that piece out, recut that piece, put it back in. I went, no. By the time I've done that with the number that I need, I can remake those sections in their entirety faster. And that's what I did. So that was a learning experience because, they call them 2.5-inch strips like in a jelly roll, but they're not. Some are, some may not be. So something I learned, make sure you measure the width of your strips in a jelly roll. Do not assume they are what they say they're supposed to be, especially those damned pinked ones. You have to figure out, is it from the top of the pinking or from the valley of the pinking, the length? So you got to check your measurements on those things. Wendy says, well, I got done sewing all of the postal stamp pieces and all the center baskets are done. No more postage stamp pieces. So thank God. Yeah. And you had what? Something like 3,000 of those, Wendy, or whatever to do. Yeah. Remind me never to do that kind of quilt. I just finished, Judy says, the quilt Smart Lone Star, and it was done in 3 days easy. Yeah, I've got patterns for the ones where you don't have Y seams and all that kind of stuff, but this one has Y seams. That's when I go to the class next. Now, we have a break. She was going on a retreat, the instructor, this coming week, so we're not meeting this coming week, and that gave me time to get my blades done. And I did. I got them all done. They're all ready to go, and they're looking pretty good. And I can't show them to you because they're packed away in my bag for the class, and it's in the other room, and I'm too lazy to get up and get them. So anyways, I'll show them to you next week. Okay, Cindy, bye-bye. So that's been working on, and I'm working on, okay, I've been doing Christmas things, so I'm just going to switch my screen here in a second. Okay, this should be coming up on your screen here. And this is a panel that I bought last year, and I never did anything with it. So I thought, well, I'll do it, and maybe it'll become another Christmas gift for somebody if I need an emergency Christmas gift or whatever. However, I have a slight problem, and I'm going to point this out to you. Let me blow this up a little bit. Okay, so this is the panel. And then I added this greeny border around it and the white border. But I decided to get fancy, and the cornerstones are all embroidered. And I made those on separate blocks, and then I made them fit as cornerstones into the border. I'm thinking I'm very clever. But then I forgot I need to quilt it. Well, I can't quilt over top of the cornerstones because that would just be a mess. And I was using a pantograph for this, not free motion. If I'd done it with free motion, there wouldn't have been any problem because, you can work around all that kind of stuff. But I didn't want to because it's only a panel. I didn't want to put the time into it to do free motion. Plus, I figured I'm not that good at free motion yet. It would have been practice, but... So I did a pantograph. I did figure out, though, how to make it fit and to keep my spacing even. It took a little bit of brain power for that, but I was able to do it. Now, if I was to do this in the future, what I would do is I would do those embroidered cornerstones as applique, and I would quilt the quilt first, and then I would apply the embroidery as applique on top of it. And I knew that, but I didn't think of that when I was doing it. Now, here's the other problem I now have. Those two at the top are square. These two are rectangular. So I had to get them to fit into the border. Well, that was okay. I did. That's not a problem. But you notice here, I have not layered, or I have not bound this yet. That's next. Well, when I'm squaring up the quilt, I didn't leave enough down here at the ends. So I've ended up cutting off this in-piece part. And when I put my binding on, it's going to come really close to this one, and it's going to cover up more of this one. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out how far I need from the bottom here of this one and the bottom of this one here. Oh, I don't think this comes up. You can't see my arrow. Can you? Oh yeah, it's there. Okay. And I'm going to cut this off, this strip off, and then I'll add my binding. You might see a little bit of this on the top, but if I cut it, I can maybe pull those pieces out so there won't be any little black marks at the top of it. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. So, but as I said, this was just something I did because I wanted to use up that panel. So there it is. So what else have I been working on? Well, I've been using the 3D printer to make these. These are little candle holders for like LED candles, fake candles. And I think they're really cute. So I'm making a whole bunch of these to give as gifts. And I just got, in fact, my printers behind me are working away. They take about 3 or 4 hours to print each one, but I've got all 3 printers going at once on this. And I just got some of these little tea lights from Amazon, and they came with the batteries in them already. In fact, I'm thinking of buying some more because I don't know if I have enough. I bought 24, but, I can't just give somebody one of these. I think they need like a pair to go. So those will be my 3 colors that I'm using. So red, gold, and a type of green, and olivey green with that. So that's what I've been up to. Besides funeral arrangements and everything else. And today we had an art journal group meeting, and I have that once a month, as you know. And yeah, there was some interesting stuff that the ladies make
make
as
it
well.
so that we see the comments on here.
Oh, sorry. Oh, fine. You just want everything. There we go. Okay. 30,000 in total, Wendy says on her quilt. Ooh, oh my God. 30,000. Are you not crazy yet? Thanks, Anita. Yeah, I thought they were kind of cute as well. So, yeah. And so, yeah, the Art Journal group, they had some really neat things today they were showing us and whatnot. I was debating whether I should stop running the Art Journal group, but I like those ladies. Well, there's one I don't like. And
There's always one in a crowd.
And she's not that well liked by the others either. And she approached me to enter into our group some time ago, and she never comes to the group. Kind of like that one you've got in your sewing group.
Yeah, I know. We've got people that say, oh, I really want to do this project. I really want to do this project. So we end up choosing that project, and they never come to the classes. Like, I mean, they'll sign up for it, but then they'll not show up for the classes, and then they end up not doing the project. And everybody else is going, yeah, okay, we can do that project. We'll do it if you want to do it, type of thing. And then, everybody else says, well, wait a minute, we did this project for you.
Okay, Anita, see you again soon.
We're doing a project because somebody suggested it. They really wanted to do it, and the rest of us said, okay, fine, we'll do it just to learn how to do it. And then whether you really wanted to make that or not, and then the other person, the person that really wanted to do it, it never ends up doing it.
Yeah. Well, this really bugged me because she sent this message. Yeah, she had something else on today that she'd signed up for. Well, usually this is not our usual day. We usually do it the first Sunday of every month, but the first Sunday of the month I had a thing on, and I had said to the group, I can still do it on that day, but it means I'm going to have to stop my other Zoom thing to do this and then go back to it. I can do that. And they said no. They didn't have a problem with doing it a week later and everything. They all said that. So this one sends me an email a couple of days ago saying, yeah, sorry, she wouldn't be able to make this one either. This isn't the first month. She's had about 3 months in a row where she hasn't been able to come to it. And it's no real sweat off my, behind or anything like that. So fine, big deal. But it does irk me because she wanted to be part of this group and then she's not showing up. It's almost like if I don't have anything better to do, I'll show up. And that's an attitude thing. And maybe I'm just too sensitive to that, but I don't like that kind of attitude,
Yeah, well, another thing was in my sewing group, we used to start at 6 p.m. each Monday night. And I don't know who suggested it, but somebody suggested that they could, it was hard for them to get to the class at 6 o'clock. So they asked to have it moved to 6:30. And I'm not sure who that one person is, but I have a feeling it's the same person that doesn't show up to the class.
Well, there's always one in the crowd that wants everything to run on their schedule with it. And, you bend over backwards to accommodate, and then they just screw you. And I don't like that. I'm the kind of person that if I make a commitment to something, no matter what, I've made the commitment. And I don't, at the last minute, bow out or, pick and choose. Oh, this something better came along kind of a deal. I hate that attitude. So anyways, actually, I'm going to give her an ultimatum. If she doesn't show up next month, then I'm just going to send her an email and say, well, okay, obviously you can't make these. So, if you want to drop out, that's just fine with us. Hint, hint, out of it all. But I was really seriously thinking about this would be the last one. I wasn't going to do this anymore. Then I got thinking, why should I let one bad apple spoil the whole bunch? Because I like these other people very much. And it's the only time I get a chance to really see them or speak to them as well. And they said sort of the same thing, they enjoyed coming to it and showing what they've been working on, seeing what everybody else is working on. They found it inspirational. So, yeah, we're just going to carry on with things. And, to hell with the one bad apple kind of a deal. So anyways, speaking of plans and things, so what are people, for the Americans on here especially, we're moving very rapidly into your holiday season, with the coming of Thanksgiving for you, and then comes Black Friday, and then, of course, it's Christmas. And we're not sure what we're doing for Christmas this year. I was talking to Walter about it the other day, saying, should we have people over? We didn't have anybody over last year. It was just us, just Walter and I, and the whole bit on Christmas Day because of COVID. Now we don't know. We're still in COVID. All the people that we would be having over, it would just be like my sister, her husband, and their 2 kids. They've all been double vaxxed.
Yeah, but you don't really know what your sister's doing yet.
No, I don't know what my sister's doing yet because her plans are up in the air too and everything. Then there's your sister and brother-in-law and your niece and nephew, and they've all been double vaxxed, but his nephew has 2 kids under the age of 12, and of course they haven't been double vaxxed yet, but they're also not going to school. They're doing homeschooling or virtual and that, because rightly so, their parents were smart and weren't sending them back into that pit of disease called the school system. So I don't know. It's up in the air. The other thing too is they just announced in Ontario, the projections are that our numbers are going to start to increase again. And I'm thinking Christmas. Ooh, not so good. If we're ever going to get out of this stupid thing. I'm really starting to believe we're not.
I don't think we are.
And this may be just how we're going to have to live our lives. get used to the mask. Well, we're already used to the masks, when you go out anywhere and stuff like that, and get the booster shot when the booster shot's available to us, and everything. But I don't know. Christmas, bah, humbug. And I have a ton of Christmas decorations, and most of them I made. In fact, I have quilts and Christmas banners and things I've made over the last couple of years since I started quilting. And I watched an old video of mine on the Idiot Quilter where I showed all that stuff because I can't remember what I've got because it's tucked away in the crawl space, and in a few weeks' time I'll have to get it out. I do not decorate before the 1st of December. I refuse to do it until it's December. I know people have already started decorating now. If it had been my mother, she would have started after Thanksgiving in October here in Canada with that. But no, I refuse to do it until December the 1st. So I was looking at this video and I went, oh.
But we got our flu shot.
Oh, yeah, we got our flu shot finally. That was a bit of a...
But we're not qualified to get the booster yet. So.
No, we're not old enough for the... we're not... we're not old enough.
We're too young to get the booster.
We're too young to get the booster, but in January, supposedly, we'll be able to get the booster. Not for the... I thought you were talking about the flu shot at that, but you jumped right immediately into COVID. Like, have you ever heard of a period? And then moving on, new paragraph. Oh, Angel says, note to self, send Steven a picture of Dear Jane blocks. You don't have to, Angel. I actually started making a Dear Jane and immediately stopped. I've got the pattern. It was put out by EQ8, the electric quilt people. I bought the stuff for it and that, or the pattern and everything. Oh, they're too tiny. Just too tiny and painful. And I don't think it looks that great. Yeah, it's probably a challenge, and it's probably one of those things that, you can say, I made a Dear Jane, and everybody goes, ooh, ah. All I can say about a Dear Jane is Jane, who made that quilt in the 1800s, did not have a life. At all. So, no, you don't need to worry about sending me a picture of it. I know what it looks like. I try not to take on, Teresa says, other people's drama. I have enough of my own. Sorry you can't come, too bad. End of discussion. Yeah, I know, Teresa. That's probably a good way to be. I wish I could be more like that. Jeannie says, if you stop it, everyone else gets punished. Yes, Jeannie, actually, I thought of that too. And that's why I'm not doing that. Angel says, Black Friday is every day I hit Amazon. Well, you know what I say? A day without Amazon is a day without sunshine. Billy's husband and herself both got the booster shot on Friday. Good for you. Teresa said she talked with Mom yesterday about Christmas. We've met at my sister's place lately because they were the only ones with a big enough house. Now she's passed. Each sib now has kids, grandkids, so we're going to do an adults only this year. Just my sibs and their spouses. That's not a bad idea. But in my family, there aren't any kids anymore. They're
no real little kids. The closest is
they're all adults.
Is my nephew and his two kids, but that's it.
Yeah, our great nieces, but yeah. My husband and I got ours also on Friday. Oh, good for you, Wendy. Yeah, we can't. We're not old enough yet, but we will as soon as it's available. It's just been
they're just doing the rollout here for people that they should get it that are high risk
or
over
65 or 70.
Over 70
right
now, and I think it's more to keep the supply in check type of thing, right? So,
well, I wish they'd hurry up and get the kids vaxxed, because those are the ones right now. That, in my theory, the reason that things are where they are now is because the kids are carrying it home. They're talking about these schools that are closing down. They're talking about all the cases, staff members that are getting it, and all that kind of stuff. Let's get the kids vaxxed. Here.
Teresa says to get the whole gang together, it's over 40 of us.
No. If it was my immediate family, and if my brother was living here, there would be, let's see, there's 6 of them, counting the one that my niece married. 6, 10, you and I, 12. There'd be 12 of us.
There you go, Judy. You need to move to a smaller place.
I'm tired of having the large place. I get the people in the work tired of it. Yeah. Yeah, really. Get a smaller place. Downsize, Judy. Keep them out. So what else? Well, what do we watch on TV? We just finished season 2 of Why Women Kill. If you have not seen that, you need to watch that series, both season 1 and season 2. It is very well done. It's quite clever. And
season 2 is completely different.
Completely different from season 1. So in a sense, if you don't want to go watch season 1, but you can watch season 2, you don't need to catch up on anything. But it's really good. Yeah, Teresa, that's true. They've already started Black Friday sales. Cheryl says, my grandsons 10 and 7 got their first vaccine this week. Yeah, great. That's good. Here in PA, we have a bunch of schools pulling lawsuits about vaccines. What? Lawsuits as in the schools don't want it, or lawsuits against or are parents suing the school because the school's saying they need the vaccines? I would assume that's probably it. Glenna says, I work at a school and my husband unfortunately has diabetes, so we qualified for the booster. We still do not know what to do about the holidays. Yeah, this is last year. It was a little bit more cut and dry for us. I mean, COVID, not supposed to have a gathering, don't want the disease. Disappointed, yes, but okay, live with that. This year, it's a little bit more, do you do it? Don't you do it? We're all double vaxxed, but I don't know. Bah humbug, Christmas. We saw an interesting movie too. I think that was on Apple. Yeah, called Finch with Tom Hanks. It's actually pretty good. I usually like any movies Tom Hanks is in, except the Dan Brown series. He was the wrong person to pick for those. And Dan Brown, like
Lost Symbol.
The Lost Symbol. What was the first book that got the Da Vinci Code? Da Vinci Code. Like, I read all the books and everything in it, and Tom Hanks was not right for the part. Physically, he was not right for the part because the main lead in those books is not described in such a way that Tom Hanks even vaguely resembles him. So, I mean, Tom Hanks, I like Tom Hanks. I think he's a good actor, and I like the movies he's usually in, but I was disappointed in the Da Vinci Code with him because he just was not the right look for it. So, but anyways, Finch is really quite good. It's got some moments that are a little bit tear-jerkish in it as well. But it's pretty good. And I think that's about all the interesting things we've watched. Yeah. So, what do we have for dinner?
I don't know yet. We have leftovers. Yeah. Yes, we always have leftovers, but that's okay. Those leftovers aren't bad. We probably should eat them up, before they go green. But anyways, okay, well, I think that's about it for us today. So, thanks everybody for joining us as usual and listening to me go on about post-mortem of my mother and everything. And yeah, so I hope you have a good week, and we'll see you next week. Yep.
Okay, bye everybody.
Bye-bye.